Envy can often be hard to acknowledge, and it is virtually impossible to seek support when it torments you. This is all because it is very much condemned by society and seen as a sign of a nasty disposition. Nevertheless, feeling envious does not make you a bad person. Everyone experiences and hides it, and nobody chooses by their own free will to be a prisoner of envy. If you have managed to acknowledge that you are envious, then give yourself a pat on the back because honesty deserves respect. What's more, envy could become a good friend to you. And now we'll take a look at why. Imagine this experiment. You are hungry, and you were given the most varied grocery products to smell, including ones that you are unfamiliar with. You can make a note if you like the smell of something, but you are not allowed to eat anything during the experiment. In response to the delicious smells, you will start to salivate, and you may experience a rush of appetite and intense hunger, which will feel torturous. However, when the experiment is over, you will realize which grocery products particularly allure you and be able to go out to the nearest store to buy them. It is your sense of smell that will help you determine what you want right now. This is the function of envy. When you experience envy, you feel a strong desire to possess something that is not unlike tormenting hunger, and this tells you about your values and needs. To continue the metaphor of the experiment, it's great if you can go and buy what you liked straight afterwards. What do you do if you're on a strict diet or you have absolutely no money, though? In this case, you'll feel terrible, as if someone has been teasing you. It's just the same with envy. You see in someone else qualities or achievements that you don't have, and you have the desire to acquire them. But uh-oh, if you forbid yourself from behaving the same way as the object of your envy, or you forbid yourself from even desiring this, your envy hugely intensifies. You get mad at the object of your envy, thinking you can't behave like that, and it's unfair. At the same time, you feel ashamed, thinking, I shouldn't want that, and it's out of reach for me. Taking into consideration that envy is a feeling that is very much socially condemned, you start to experience secondary emotions, and as a result, you feel guilty and even more ashamed. The kind of irrational tangle that one great pic of your friend on Instagram can set off is pretty much like this. By the way, about self-presentation on social media, within the framework of our metaphor, we could compare it to an ordinary grocery product stuffed with loads of chemical flavorings. They make you feel seriously hungry or envious, although they are not necessary for your satisfaction whatsoever and can actually be something entirely different. Interestingly, there is a certain error of perception. People try to show others their best sides, and based on this information, we form opinions about them. When it comes to yourself, you have access not only to your victories, but also to all the darker parts of your soul, your doubts and failures, which you don't put on public display. This might give you the illusion that you have far more shortcomings and failures, and as a result, cause you to be envious of others. This is why psychologists often suggest comparing yourself more with you in the past and less with other people. It's simply more objective. At the same time, even if the desires and aspirations lying at the basis of your envy don't seem realistic or useful to you, that doesn't mean that they are bad. For example, you want to have a figure like Kim Kardashian. For most people, this goal is unattainable without any operations, even if you make huge lifestyle-related sacrifices. Well, it doesn't mean that you need to try to fulfill your every wish like a magic fairy, including this one. Instead, feel around for the requirement you have that is hiding behind this. Ask yourself, what would it mean to me if I had the same thing as the object of my envy? Do I want to be as self-confident and attractive to men? To get as much attention and admiration? To have financial freedom? Find the requirement that is hiding behind the desire and think about how else you can fulfill it. So if you are feeling envious toward a certain person, first praise yourself for having acknowledged this. Then ask yourself, which of my desires is this feeling indicating now? What values and needs are behind them? How can I satisfy them? Next, analyze what your attitude is towards the desire to have these things. Do you feel awkward and ashamed? Do reasons come to mind for why you shouldn't want them? Study these attitudes and question them. Oughtness and prohibitions that you accept as dogma are a frequent target in cognitive behavioral therapy. It will be useful to reformulate them as desires and fears, complementing the result with a touch of decatastrophizing. For instance, men always ought to like me can be turned into, I want to feel attractive and desired, but when that doesn't happen, it's not a disaster. Not everyone can like you. If you experience chronic severe envy, you could be consistently forbidding yourself some kind of need or be making excessive demands on yourself. In this case, working on oughtness and prohibitions could be particularly useful for you. What's more, by working on your envy and responding to it, you can learn to satisfy the needs that you usually neglect without any shame, and move more confidently toward your goals. Finally, we'll make a recommendation that you'll be able to fulfill without any particular effort. We've already mentioned secondary emotions. In response to envy, you might feel guilty and ashamed because society considers envy as bad. If you free yourself from this reaction to your envy, you will reduce your suffering by at least half. The next time you are envious, stop and remember that it is an absolutely natural feeling. Don't try to drive it out. Tell it, hey, long time no see. Treat it with acceptance and interest, like any other feeling, and it will immediately lose its devilish power.